Hello and welcome once again for the 198th time to Crazy Comics and Stories. It's me, your charming and delightful old Uncle Rat Bastard. And at the other end of the series of tubes and wires, deep inside the earth, is Joe Crazy Rider. How you doing today, Joe?
Tanto tempo fa in una galassia lontana, lontana. È un periodo di rinnovata speranza per la ribellione, la più grande arma dell'impero galattico, la morte nera, è stata distrutta da un giovane pilota ribelle, Luke Skywalker. Ora che le forze imperiali sono in difficoltà, i ribellioni vogliono sfruttare il vantaggio, scardando un'offensa coraggiosa negli angoli più remoti dello spazio, e nella speranza di sconfiggere l'impero una volta per tutti e di riportare finalmente la libertà nella galassia.
Joe? Are you okay?
Hey, I'm coming. Oh, sorry. Are we on? Are we recording? Are we live?
Yes?
Oh, well, hello.
I thought you sounded different.
What? No, I was upstairs. I didn't realize it was past 8. The last thing I heard is your power was off.
Why, yes, we'll get into that later. But we had something from Star Wars. Do we have a special guest on the line? Is this the NSA listening?
Shame on you for making me listen to Star Wars stuff.
I didn't make you listen to anything.
Yeah, shame on you, Cory. I have no idea what the hell you're talking about.
Yeah, I'm pretty much used to that.
I am sorry to hear, Cory, that Christina Hendricks changed herself from a redhead to a blonde.
I'm okay with that.
I know. Really, I mean, next you're going to be told that, pie is not as good for you as you thought it would be.
Oh, I know pie's terrible for me. I have enough sorrow in my life already, Joe. So Joe's here. A special guest, would you introduce yourself again, please?
Do we have to do this every time? I'm not a guest, I'm a feature.
You have to remember that everybody's podcast is their first podcast, so they may not be familiar with you as they should be, but we are going to change that.
Well, you could stop calling me a guest.
I don't call you guest.
So you don't want to be our guest?
Be our guest, be our guest.
I knew he was going to start singing. Why did you say that?
Your shirt right off your chest. What?
Hi, everybody. It's Jin.
Yay!
Yes, Jin is back.
There's gonna be some trouble. Hey now, 'cause Jin is back.
Here's my thing. Jin, you say you're a feature. I'm a computer user from way back, and to me the word feature means error or bug. And I don't think of you as an error or bug. We have to decide what you are.
I'm a Jin.
There we go. We have a Jin with us today.
Hello.
Neat.
And so, yes, I was without power. We almost did not do a show. I woke up last night very, very, very late for some reason. And when I woke up, it was dark. And not just, it's nighttime dark. I mean dark. I mean, all the electronics in the house were dark. I looked outside and the streets were dark. And at first I wondered, is this it? Is this a zombie apocalypse? Do I need to find my machete? But no! They were trying to remove a tree that had fallen on a power line, and in doing so, they actually snapped the power line. But we're here. We have power.
Cool.
I did not have to go and sit in a Denny's parking lot with my laptop and a headset and sponge off their Wi-Fi for us to do a show for the people.
Denny's, really? You could at least, spring for the IHOP.
The nearest IHOP is about 45 minutes away.
You could have gone to, a Baker Square.
And we would still make the drive to avoid Denny's.
But I'm just sitting in the parking lot for the Wi-Fi.
They have Wi-Fi at Denny's?
Yes.
Oh, okay.
They have Wi-Fi at McDonald's. Except they turn it off at 11 o'clock when they close. The bastards. And if we go late, God only knows what we're going to talk about. And I asked Joe how he's doing.
How am I? I'm okay, I guess.
2 cows are standing next to each other in a field. Daisy says to Dolly, I was artificially inseminated this morning. I don't believe you, says Dolly. It's true, no bull. Hey, wait a minute.
I don't feel so good anymore.
What? I don't hear no crickets.
Do you hear that, Joe?
That's silence.
No, now.
I hear Joe's furnace.
It's the sad music, everyone.
Aw.
Sad music, everyone.
What happened?
Well, my son has gotten a job and moved out.
Doesn't sound very sad to me.
He had the desk that he'd built. He had the bed that he built. He had all of his computer equipment that he built. And he and his brother carried it on out. And at one point, they dropped some of the wood for the bed.
Is this a Woody joke?
No.
Oh.
There were casualties, Joe.
Uh-oh.
This is so dramatic.
It is.
Ladies and gentlemen, the crickets who have been with us since episode 2 perished in that accident.
Thank fuck.
No. Oh.
Requiescat in pace. That's all she wrote. They were buried in a wind tunnel. They were buried in Joe's wind tunnel. No, they were buried in a quiet ceremony earlier today. I do have a clip from the ceremony.
Oh, we get clips and everything.
Yep, I'm going to play the clip.
We are assembled here today to pay final respects to our honored dead. And yet it should be noted that in the midst of our sorrow, this death takes place in the shadow of new life, the sunrise of a new world, a world that our beloved comrade gave his life to protect and nourish. He did not feel this sacrifice a vain or empty one, and we will not debate his profound wisdom at these proceedings. Of my friend, I can only say this. Of all the souls I have encountered in my travels, his was the most human. Others? Up.
There you go, Joe. The William Shatner showed up for their funeral and gave the eulogy.
I don't think so.
Yes, he did. He flew in from Hollywood and was happy to be there. He missed the crickets.
Nope.
What do you mean, no?
No. Yeah, your cat ate him.
No.
Yep, I'm pretty sure.
Okay, she ate them after they were dead.
Isn't that what cats are for?
Yep.
No, they're for bringing half-dead mice to your bed and nudging you in the middle of the night and say, hey, stupid, you don't know how to feed yourself. Kill this. But the crickets didn't make it to episode 200. Jin will probably be opening a bottle of champagne and dancing around the room all night.
I'd pay to see that.
Jin, you hated the crickets,
I
didn't
hated the crickets. They were not funny.
That's not their job. Their job is to laugh at Joe's jokes. Now no one, literally no one on the planet, will be laughing at Joe's jokes.
I can live with that.
Yeah, you pretty much better get used to it. I also have a correction from our last American food segment.
Oh, yeah?
Yeah, remember the All-American burger, the thick burger with a wiener on it?
Yeah.
I received an email that said that I was incorrect in that. It also has a layer of potato chips on it.
Well, that's very important.
Don't leave out the potato chips.
A world-winning national treasure journalist like you shouldn't lie. You know what happened to Brian Wilson? I think you got to go.
Brian Wilson of the Beach Boys?
One of them Wilsons. Brian.
Oh, okay. We do have another American food item to talk about, though.
Oh, boy.
Yes.
Hey.
A pizza. But not just any pizza. Guess what the crust is made out of, Joe?
Pretzels.
Nope. We have that. That's the
Oh,
thing.
dear bejesus.
Yes, remember how we loved the double down because it was just 2 pieces of chicken with bacon and cheese?
Chicken. Oh,
Yeah.
the chicken parmesan.
No.
Actually, but it is a chicken parmesan, but they're calling it the chicken pizza. Deep fried chicken with pizza toppings and cheese.
I will give something off my vast accumulation of crap to anybody who can tell me and send a picture that they actually have tried that. I think it's available, just in Hong Kong right now or somewhere overseas?
Yeah, but you know it's coming here because it's the most American of foods.
Of course.
Something deep fried, smothered in cheese.
It's just a chicken parmesan.
Except it's mozzarella.
So?
Deep fried. Ugh. Arteries be damned.
Why don't they have that at the state fair? Besides, nobody was buying it when it was a chicken parmesan. Now they have to call it a chicken pizza. And I think it's a chicken crust pizza. And it frightens me.
It's just a chicken with sauce and cheese on it. Grow up.
You take all the fun out of it.
That's my job.
Fine. Fine. Then top this. Did you hear who's starting a delivery service?
No, tell me.
Taco Bell. So if you can still find change in your couch but don't want to drive anywhere when you're stoned, you can call Taco Bell and have some of the world's worst food brought to you.
I like some of the food from Taco Bell.
Joe has a daughter who was in Italy, one of the food capitals on the planet. And what did she miss, Joe?
Taco Bell.
We're Americans. We don't want it to taste good. We just want there to be a lot of it.
Tacos. Tacos rule.
Well, we might as well get to the theme.
Oh,
It sounds like I'm in an airplane hangar.
Maybe you're in an airplane.
I am not in an airplane.
Are you sure?
I am sure.
We're in the theater of the mind. You could tell the listeners that you're anywhere.
I'm in Joe's basement.
There you go. I've been telling
Well,
people for years that I'm charming and delightful, and they actually believe me.
whatever you do, don't touch my comic books.
I don't want your comic books.
I know, because we all know.
Jin hates comics.
But we're going to talk comics.
Okay.
Actually,
Is this the part where Jin is real quiet and starts drinking?
I'm not drinking. I'm not drinking.
Okay, no drinking. I think
Nope.
I'll have a drink, though.
Okay.
Thank you.
and what are you drinking there, Joe?
I don't know, but it's red,
Oh, okay.
and there's lots of it.
So I thought, since Jin is an artist,
And a damn good one at that.
that we could talk artists. And what I thought for a topic would be we could just go around and who are the 5 artists whose work we buy immediately? You know, you hear that an artist is working on something, you want to see it, you're willing to shell out some hard-earned money. Now, Joe and I are comic books, and Jin likes webcomics. So I thought it would be fun to get some information on webcomics, since it's a world that most of our listeners don't know a lot about. And I don't know if Joe knows anything about it. Joe, do you know anything about it?
They're
I
not
followed
all
yours.
webcomics. You
What
told
was
me
that?
comic artists.
Yeah,
They're not all webcomics.
okay, but they're comic artists, but some of them do webcomics.
Yes, some of them do.
So you got to watch out for him, Jen. I mean, he'll put words in your mouth if you're not careful.
Do you think I don't know that?
Just keep him honest. I'm telling you, man, 198 episodes, and I'm almost at my wit's end. Look what happened to my hairline.
You had a hairline?
Did when I started this here podcast.
You know, we have a co-host we could bring in. The guy who did episode 52.
Ah, the new 52. Yes. That's why he is a rat bastard.
I just want to point out for a minute here that I was looking at my YouTube channel earlier today, and the episodes with me in them that are on my YouTube channel have like 3 times as many views as the ones on yours.
Excellent. See, we need her more than she needs us. So
Exactly. That is
F that up,
exactly what I am
Strode.
saying.
I recognize that right away. Because you even got another podcast you worked on.
I did. I started my own podcast.
Cool. Tell me about it.
It's called Comic Bros, and it's done with my friends Mark and Root, and you can find it at comicbrospodcast.com.
So I'm kind of excited because my new job, I'm working now in baggage instead of the checkpoint. And one of the areas we work in is underground, where you're just watching a monitor. If something pops up that we have to investigate, I got to look at it. In between waiting, they allow you to listen to music. And so I'm hoping to download like your podcast and get a bunch of music. That way I'll be able to sit and listen to them. Get paid for it too. So I got that going for me.
We're on all the
Nice.
the podcast services, iTunes, Pocket Casts, and Stitcher, and YouTube, everywhere.
Cool. You'll have to sit down with Cory and teach him about how to do this self-promotion stuff.
I don't know.
Too much?
I don't know. We'll see.
Well, nobody wants me to get famous, let's be honest. You think my head is swelled now. Imagine if, like, we have 14 listeners.
Yeah, but then you won't have to worry about...
the furnace.
You kidding?
Wait.
It's like 90 degrees outside. That's death temperature for Minnesotans.
Oh, 90 degrees.
I know, you Texans, that's like winter to you.
It is winter.
What's worse? It's like 65% humidity.
Oh,
We
no.
melt. We melt.
I know they were saying that at the Comic-Con in May. The girl sitting next to me, she said, it's so humid, and I'm sitting there with a jacket on going, what are you talking about? It feels great. And she's fanning herself. It's like, you realize I live in a sauna, right?
I'll wait till it's 30 below up here, then we'll see what you think.
No, I like the snow.
No, it's not the snow, it's the wind chill. Slap the tongue right off you.
Oh, I spent a couple of months in Buffalo, New York, which is like the worst place on earth, so.
Didn't you get there during one of their famous lake effect whiteouts?
Yes. Like a blizzard, you couldn't see like 5 feet in front of the truck. I only knew where I was because I kept driving into the rumble strips on the side of the road.
Whoops, too far. That's good they think of that.
Yeah, otherwise I just would have ended up in a ditch somewhere.
And God
Or,
knows who you're doing
maybe
a
a lake.
podcast with.
Or a lake. Well, that was in the days before podcasts.
True.
Was it in the year 2000?
It was in the year, yeah, possibly. Do not sing. Do not sing.
Fine, I'll bring in Mr. T to sing.
We're going to talk about comic artists.
Well, that's good, because I thought for sure you two were getting ready to fire me with 201.
It was close. With this journey, the judgment's still out on that one, so don't get cocky.
We have an instant messenger conversation going on here. So.
Well, that's good. Well, if you do squeeze me out, just, I'd like a nice parting gift. Maybe a copy of the home game.
How about
I'm going to give you a fucking box of dead crickets.
Yeah.
I don't know. Dead crickets, rice-a-roni, they're about the same
San
thing.
Francisco treat. Yep.
Couldn't help yourself, could you?
Never can. So comic artists, who wants to go first?
Ooh, me.
So,
All right. Number 5 is a guy we hammered last podcast. The crazy old coot, John Byrne. I love John Byrne's art. It's very clean. It's very stylish. He has a way of drawing people, not just one various person with different uniforms on him. He doesn't do superheroes anymore. Every so often he'll pop up at IDW and bring out a mini-series. He keeps threatening to bring back X-Men, his own superhero group. Did a lot of Star Trek stuff, which was wonderful. Nowadays, he's content to play with Star Trek photos and do Photoshop comic books, which I actually like. But if I see John Byrne is doing something, it's one of those things that catches my attention because I enjoyed his work. My first exposure was X-Men, 137, Death where Jean Grey died.
Yes.
And I was able to go all the way back and pick up his earlier works and even into his first stuff, which I think was, we did some Carlton work, Space 1999, and of course his very, very first comic, why can't I think of it? Wheelie and the Chopper Bunch. He got better. So Byrne is a guy I definitely watch out for. Who wants to go next?
Frank Cho. Frank Cho started doing comic strips and was a humor-based artist, and now he has moved into comic books because, believe it or not, a midline comic strip doesn't make enough money to live on because newspapers are paying people less and less and less. So he started doing comic books, and he brings a very different storytelling style when he does comic books. It's much more visual. It's much more where action flows from panel to panel rather than panels being very static. The other thing I like is that he uses a lot of body language when telling his stories. His characters don't just stand around, they're actually doing things. You can tell who they are and what they're like by how they move and their gestures and everything. He draws a lot of cheesecake art, but one of the things about his cheesecake art is he draws women proportional. If a woman has a big chest, it's not like the rest of her's a stick figure. Looking at you again, Rob Liefeld. Looking at you too, Jim Lee. But his women actually look like they're real people. His men look like actual bodybuilder types or strongmen types. They're not just generic figure A, generic figure B. And any comic he's going to draw, I'm going to order sight unseen. I love his stuff. Jen, your turn.
okay, well, I don't, run out and buy books usually, and you told me, my favorite comic artists, not whose books do I buy. But, my first on my list of favorites was Richard Thompson. I don't know if you know who he is. He draws the newspaper comic strip Cul-de-sac, which is probably my favorite comic strip in the newspaper right now. He also did one called Richard's Poor Almanac that I believe is published in the Washington Post. And he just won an Eisner Award at Comic-Con last weekend, I guess. But his art style is super sketchy. It's really expressive and dynamic, and I don't know. It's just my favorite comic in the paper. He does a really good characterization of the kids. It's a strip kind of centered around little kid characters. Probably in the vein of Calvin and Hobbes, they pretend a lot. And so that's what I have to say about that.
Joe?
I like a giant Pez. Our good buddy George Perez, as my old buddy Pat used to say. George Perez, of course, super artist, master of the crowd scene. He can draw every single character that's ever appeared in the Marvel Universe, and you will be able to tell exactly who each and every one is, because he's just that damn good. He's done oodles of work. I can't even think of his earlier stuff. I know he did some Avengers stuff that, again, my buddy Pat's been collecting like crazy. I mean, we're not talking the comic, we're talking the original artwork when it shows up. His big thing, of course, was New Teen Titans with Marv Wolfman, which I talked about last podcast, Crisis on Infinite Earths, and you'd think he is so well regarded that while he was working for CrossGen, they allowed him to take a leave from the stuff he was working on to do the JLA Avengers crossover, something he started to do back in the 80s and it got aborted. And then the CrossGen people were so much behind this project, they let him take time off to do it. So anytime I see George working on something, it just picks up on my radar. He's doing a book right now. I believe it's IDW, Sirens, George Perez Sirens, which 6-issue miniseries, and in typical George Perez style, it's super late, so it's not all out yet. 6 issues, I'm just going to wait till they're all together and read them as one.
I have George Perez on my list too, and one of the things I like about his stuff is he could draw a crowd scene that doesn't feel like, oh my God, I had to draw on all these figures and everything. It really flows as a crowd scene. He can also do 12 to 14 panels on a page, and it doesn't seem crowded. He's able to make big things seem big. When he draws a scene that's really important and has a lot of scope, I still think he does big screen stuff better than any movie does. He's been working since 1974, and his work just continues to improve, whereas a lot of comic book artists, they reach a certain level, and then they kind of decline. His stuff just keeps getting better and better and better as he learns more about how to draw, how to tell stories, and how to individualize his characters. Love his stuff. Jen?
My next favorite artist is Kate Beaton. I don't know if you've heard of her. She does a webcomic called Hark a Vagrant. She also has a book coming out called The Princess and the Pony. And she also has a really kind of loose, sketchy, expressive style. She does some really sweet autobio comics. She posts to her Tumblr. And she's really interesting to me because she kind of got her start in 2007, which was kind of around my high point. And I remember when she first kind of came on the scene, so to speak, and she had done a comic about Nikola Tesla that went viral. And that was kind of where she got her start. And it's been really cool watching her go from that to recently, I believe her first Hark a Vagrant book was on the New York Times bestseller list.
Wow.
So she does, there are comics and they're in a book, but it's not a traditional comic. It's not a newspaper comic. These are actually web comics, that were in this book, and she did make the New York Times bestseller list. So she does a lot of comics about historical figures, and more esoteric subject matter. So you have like, literary characters and all kinds of stuff, and they're really unique, and really fun, and I think very accessible to like anybody, even people who don't normally read comics. Her website is harkavagrant.com, I believe.
Joe?
The next ones I kind of put together because they're the type of creators that I like to support. They're artists Tom Beelan and Tom Zahler. Tom Beelan did a book for Image and on his own called True Story, Swear to God, which is about his meeting of his future wife and how it's a slice of life type comic, kind of a romance type comic. They married, he moved to Puerto Rico. He just recently, I guess they separated and he moved back to the United States. He's supporting himself on eBay mostly by doing covers and trading cards and things like that. But he's also done a couple of the Marvel romance comics when Marvel did that miniseries back, was that mid-2000s or so? His book, True Story, Swear to God, you can buy in an omnibus from Image. And I've enjoyed it. I don't know if he's ever going to do web strips again. He just did a book through IDW called Oh, help me with the pronunciation. It's a Mexican devil, Chupacabra.
Chupacabra,
Thank
kind
you.
of a spin on the chupacabra. So
Mhm.
it's Chupacabra.
Yep.
So it's like a girl?
Yes.
Okay.
Tom Zahler, I've raved about before. He did an excellent series called Love and Capes, kind of taking the superhero archetypes, and putting a spin on it more, again, a romance story. He actually does his stuff on web strips first, and then he did it as a comic strip. They're now available in graphic novels. His latest work is Long Distance, and it's about a long-distance love affair. I started reading the first issue, and you get a lot of money out of that comic book that he does because he's not short-selling anything. Again, a 6-issue miniseries. I'll probably wait till it's all together and just read it as one big book. I probably should wait for the graphic novel. But again, these are artists that I like to support. Matter of fact, Tom just recently, he has something going on where he needed some cash, and he took all of his blank comic book covers that he'd been working on and just half the price on them, and I ended up buying one. It's Mary Jane sticking her finger up to Mistopheles. I believe it's on the latest Amazing Spider-Man crossover where him and Mary Jane wake up and they're married just like they were before the deal with the devil. Go figure. All right, who's next?
I'll grab next. Sergio Aragonés.
You're mad, I tell you, mad.
Sergio Aragonés is an international treasure. He is a Mexican artist who has had an amazing, amazing life. He has done acting, animation, writing, art. He's the guy in Mad Magazine who draws all the little cartoons around the pages. They call them marginals. He's also done tons and tons of work in Mad. He worked in animation for NBC for a lot of years. He actually worked as an...
Dick Clark's Blooper and Practical Jokes.
Yep.
And he also worked on the Mad TV show.
Yep.
Was that, I forget, who was that on? Was that the WP or WB or whoever the heck it was?
No, it was on Fox. But he also worked on the most current Mad show that is on Cartoon Network. He was an actor on Rowan and Martin's Laugh-In, of all things. He's done over 100 and some issues of Gru the Wanderer, which is a Conan parody. But the thing I love about his art is you can look at a Sergio page, and first you know it's his. And second, he's one of the fastest artists in the world, and he puts in so much detail that you really, I've seen him draw. He could draw a finished comic page in 20 minutes. And the level of detail, little jokes and gags in the background and little details of things and jokes that will pay off. He did a 12-issue series for Bongo, the people who publish the Simpsons books. That was a story about his life, then a short story, and then a bunch of cartoons. And it was always the first thing I read. He's an amazing artist. He's, I wish that at some point Mad would put out a big collect set like they did for Don Martin of everything he's ever drawn for them, because that's another book I would buy in a heartbeat. Jen?
Okay. Sorry, I was drawing. I figured you can't hear my pen over Joe's furnace.
Yeah, we couldn't hear a car driving through my living room over Joe's furnace.
I'm drawing a picture from Mad Max. So my next one is Kentaro Miura. He draws a manga called Berserk, and he did a short kind of a mini manga called, and I'm gonna make this terrible, Gigantomachia, in 2013. And if you look up his artwork, and be warned, Berserk is very violent and very dark. It's not a kid-friendly manga at all. But he just does, his artwork just has an insane level of detail. He does really interesting monster designs, a lot of hatching, a lot of really good use of blacks and whites and shadow, high contrast. But just really his ink work is amazing. It's probably probably the most inspiring artist to me out there right now. Just every time I get a new chapter or go reread parts of the series, I just spend, minutes per page, like poring over all the detail and the fine line work and expressiveness he puts into the artwork. It really has a lot of mood to it and a lot of character, and you should check it out.
Joe?
Oh, Joe must have been muted, huh?
Yeah.
Yeah, we could actually hear each other for a minute.
I know. The second to last one for me is Fred Hembeck. Just like Sergio Aragonés, Fred has a unique style. When you see it, you know it, because his character is always drawn with curlicues at the elbows and knees. And his early work was in the Buyer's Guide for Comic Fandom, later known as the Comic Buyer's Guide. He did one called Dateline Swear Word or whatever, where he would interview different Silver Age characters. And he's been doing stuff ever since. A lot of his stuff was reprinted by Fantaco in a black and white magazine. It was just recently collected by Image in the Essential Hembeck in one of those phone book formats. And his Marvel stuff was just published like 2 weeks ago in House of Hem. And he's been doing stuff. His work now is mostly on eBay, even though he's been published by, I don't know, you name it, he's probably done it. First Comics. He still does covers for Comic Shop News. He's done stuff for Fantagraphics, Topps, Archie. His strips are available through his website, which is hembeck.com. And, of course, his most notorious thing he does is he just has this fascination with Brother Voodoo. Although if you ever picked up the final issue of Marvel Age, Hembeck claimed he had only begun mocking Brother Voodoo because he had the character confused with an even lamer character, DC's Brother Power the Geek. I've actually commissioned a piece from Fred, which was kind of cool. We talked about that a number of podcasts ago. I don't want to get into that goof up. Again, you can hunt him down on eBay. He'll take commissions. And I'm sure he'll show up somewhere because if there's something to be parodied, he'll be the guy you want to do it. Cory?
The next one on my list is Darwin Cook. If you look up Darwin Cook, you're going to see that his style is not like most comic book artists when he started or now. He has a very animation-driven style. And the best way to describe it is it's retro, kind of retro 60s, 50s, and 60s art filtered through the Bruce Timm style of the Batman animated series. His stuff is always beautiful. His DC New Frontier was kind of where I finally my ears perked up and I went, this guy's amazing, because he tells the DC Silver Age as if it was actually in the late 50s, early 60s. The project he's working on now is he's doing adaptations of the Parker novels, which are a series of crime novels that among crime novel aficionados is thought of as one of the best. There's Travis McGee, Parker, and then Spencer. And his Parker adaptations beautifully captured those stories, but they also have all of the 60s detail that was in the book. The design pulls you through the story, so he doesn't have to use a lot of text. He doesn't have to describe things. With very simple drawings, he can set mood. With his coloring, he can set time and place. He captures character in a simplistic way that actually is more complicated than if he used a lot of lines and a lot of detail. He also did a Spirit series for DC, which everything that somebody does with the Spirit is going to pale in comparison to Will Eisner. But he was able to hold his own on that book, and if you get a chance to pick up any of the Darwin Cook Spirit, go ahead, dig through those quarter bins, dig through those dollar boxes. They're all just a wonderful read, and you're going to really enjoy it. Then go over and get those Parker novels. Jin?
My next artist is Evan Dahm. He's a webcomic artist. His works are Rice Boy, Order of Tales, and his current comic is called Vatu. It's probably my favorite webcomic right now. I did actually pick up the book for Rice Boy at a convention earlier this year. His artwork is inked with a brush. He does really fantastic world building and character design. No humans in his comics. They're always other creatures, other races. Some of them are very animalistic, and some of them are more just strange creatures. He's even had some like sentient robot characters in one of his comics. He has a really understated use of color. He uses bright colors, but they're not flashy. I really like his line work. I really like his use of color. And his comics aren't very word heavy either, so they're easy to read. And he tells a lot. He does a lot of the show don't tell. There's not a lot of exposition. So it's probably my favorite webcomic right now. So like I said, Vatu is the current one. And I believe his website is riceboy.com, but I'm not positive. Joe?
All right. The last one on my list, I was going to choose you, Jen, because I really love your work.
I was waiting for that. I figured this whole thing was a setup.
No, I figured because, I not only, I should say I had both your books, but my daughters have absconded with them. And, I bought a bunch of stuff from you at I'm going to call it SpringCon because I don't
didn't buy a mini comic from me, though.
I didn't. Oh, I didn't see it. Oh, my mistake. Because I definitely would have snapped that. I love mini comics. Well, I spent $10.
I know
I thought
you
I
did.
got a mini comic.
I don't
figure
think
it out.
you did.
The last artist is a friend of mine, and I know him from way, way back.
You have friends?
I do. His name's Peter Krause. He is known for his 3-year run on Power of Shazam. He's a super nice guy. And I'm reading his Wikipedia entry, which is painfully short. And it's wrong because, as they say, his first published comic work appeared in DC Comic Book Bonus Suicide Squad number 21. And I know that's wrong because his first work was self-published during the black and white craze of the 80s, Entropy Tales, because it was headed up, I believe, our good buddy Greg Ketter, damn fine, handsome man, owner of Dreamhaven Books, at the time in Dinkytown, and his employee and then editor, Alan Payne, put together a black and white comic to take advantage, of course, the black and white comic book glut that was going on at the time. Of course, at the time, we didn't know it was a glut. We just called it a boom. Entropy Tales number 1 was his first work. There were 4 issues of that, and then Pete actually had 2 issues of his own comic called Nightwolf. And I'm not exaggerating when I say they were bad. Pete will agree with me. Matter of fact, he shudders every time I bring one to a con to have him sign.
Now you know why I didn't want you to bring my old books.
Well, I bought them at the time when they were fresh and new, so, and they were fun. Plus, it had the one strip I love where you've got Cory all pissed off because he can't play a robot pirate space monkey or something.
Always with the monkeys with him.
I know, I don't get it.
It's
well, of
so
course,
played
Frank
out.
Cho draws himself as a monkey, so no wonder he picked Cho. Anyways, Pete's a fantastic guy. His website is PeteKrauseIllustration.com. He was one of the artists that worked for a long time in comics and then stopped because there was no money in it. And he went on to do commercial illustrations, and that's what happens with a lot of successful comic book artists. If they can't make it in comics, they can get into commercial art, which is not as demanding, not as high stress, and you're not doing sequential story art. You're usually just doing arts for magazines and that. Pete came back to work with Mark Waid on a series called Irredeemable for Boom Studios. And currently, for IDW, they're 2 issues into one called Insufferable. And I don't want to give away the surprise of the series, but essentially it's about a superhero and his ex-sidekick. And I think there's one book of Pete's that I'm missing out of everything he's ever done. And this includes things like Adventures of Superboy, the aforementioned Suicide Squad. If I know Pete's doing a single issue or something, I definitely pick it up. I picked up the entire run of Irredeemable until he stopped doing it. And then I started reading it, and I said, oh, crap, I should have kept reading Irredeemable. And like I said, he's doing Insufferable. And if I ever do this Solo Joe podcast, I've been threatening he'll be one of the guys I'll hit up for an interview because he's that damn nice, I'm telling you. Cory, what's your number one?
My number one is a Spanish artist who has crossed over to do American comics, and that's David Aja. David Aja, I first noticed him, he was doing fill-ins on Daredevil. And his style was still evolving, but then the next book he did where he really kind of grabbed me was The Immortal Iron Fist, which was written by Matt Fraction and Ed Brubaker. And it started as kind of a traditional looking comic, but as it went on, he started working more with shadow and working more with page design. And one of the things I absolutely love about his work is sometimes the shadow, he will draw a character so that the shadow is the highlight, giving it a different mood, giving it a different feel. But then once he came on to Hawkeye, his work just leapt up unbelievably. His page layouts are beautiful. Each one of them can be a poster. And he did probably my favorite single issue of any comic not drawn by Jack Kirby, and that is Hawkeye number 11, the Pizza Dog issue, which is a comic book told from the point of view of a dog. So the dog thinks in pictures. The dog can understand bits and pieces of words. And as you read it, you don't just follow what the dog is doing around the humans, but it really puts you in the mindset of how our animals see us by making it seem very different and almost alien. His character work is beautiful, but it's those page designs that blow me away every time. Just head on over to davidaja.com. Look at his blog where he talks about process. He shows pages. He shows the inked page and then he shows the colored page. And it's an education in storytelling and design. And whatever he does next, I'm going to be there in line the first day. Jen?
My favorite comic artist is my friend Josh Lesnick. He draws porn.
Hey now. I think I like him already.
Yes, I say this as somebody that doesn't really care for porn. It's the funniest porn you ever saw.
You just skip to the website. I got things to look up.
It's called slipshine.net, I think. It's called Slipshine. It's the one with the porn. But it's I've known Josh for years. He was one of my best friends when I got started doing webcomics, and he's always been one of my best friends ever since. He's always been my convention buddy. He was with me one of the days at SpringCon or MSP Comic Con, whatever you want to call it. We were together at Staple earlier this year, and it's just been really great watching him, his early work. It's pretty rough. He had a lot of really heavily anime influenced stuff, and over the years he's just developed his own style. His stuff, his line work's gotten pretty tight. I love his use of colors. He uses a lot of female characters in all of his comics, which is kind of unusual. And just, he's one of my best friends, so, it's gonna be a biased contest.
Now, there are other artists that I would have put on my list if they put out work more often.
Or if they were alive. Jack Kirby, I'm looking at you.
Well, that was one of the things I said. It's got to be somebody who's producing current art. Otherwise, my list would be Jack Kirby, Johnny Craig, Jack Kirby, Steve Ditko, and Jack Kirby. Oh, and number 6 would be Jack Kirby as well.
Don't forget Jack Kirby.
I won't.
So Hollywood certainly has. Everybody else seems to.
Oh, no. Hollywood hasn't forgotten him. His name's in the credits now. By law. The Supreme Court actually ruled on that one. But there are artists that I love, but they don't produce work often enough to be on the list. But number one is Jim Sternenko. Jim Sternenko hasn't produced any comic art since the 70s. He's still alive. He still goes to conventions. Every Sunday night he takes to Twitter to tell stories about his life, which is more fascinating than any story he could ever tell. And I wish someone would just chain him to a drawing table. Here, draw one more thing before you die. I also have Jose Ladron, who is this Mexican artist who mixes Jack Kirby with Mobius. And he did a run of Cable. I hate Cable. Cable's one of the characters I actually hate. When I tell people his origin, I watch their heads kind of begin to hurt. But anything he does, I'll buy. Frank Miller, I know Frank Miller's a very controversial figure. I still love his art. And I will defend Dark Knight 2 to my grave. Geoff Darrow, who did very, very few comics till the Wachowski brothers decided to throw ginormous amounts of money at him to do the design work on the Matrix movies and all their other stuff. His comics are beautiful, very European, but hey, when Hollywood dumps millions of dollars at your door, you're not going to turn them down. Alex Ross, a lot of people who are outside of comics love his work. I still love his work. His paintings are beautiful. He doesn't do interior stuff anymore, which is a shame, because the two big books he did, Kingdom Come and Marvels, are both classics. They're both beautiful, and they both showed that you could do a painting as a comic and not have it look stiff. And then Neil Adams. Yes, Neil Adams is batshit insane. If you've ever heard him on Coast to Coast, where he talks about how the earth is hollow and growing.
I know who that guy is.
His art is still beautiful. His Batman story made no goddamn sense in any way, shape, or form, but boy, it was pretty.
I heard him on Coast to Coast, and I'm like, why the fuck is there a comic artist on Coast to Coast talking about a hollow earth?
He's been working on a 500-page graphic novel that explains his theory for at least 15 years now.
Wow.
He's crazy!
I just think that's a thing that what's the word? You're an artist, you're crazy.
Yeah.
But I mean, that's taking it a little too far.
I think what it is, for one thing, Neil Adams has kind of lived in his own world since the early 70s. He created Continuity Studios, and he really never had to interact with anybody he didn't want to, because he was so in demand both in comics and in advertising that he could kind of just surround himself with people who loved him and didn't question anything he said. And if you're around people who don't question you and don't say, hey, are you sure about that? You're eventually going to go way off into the forest.
I'm sure you and I wouldn't know anything about that, Cory.
About forests?
Oh, well, I just have one. It's just Tim Krieder, who I mentioned in the interview that we did, but that was a long time ago. He's mainly an essayist for the New York Times now, but he also draws wonderful cartoons, and he's totally dreamy. Call me Tim.
Call you Tim? Tim is Jin?
No, Tim should call me.
Tim Jin. Oh, okay, never mind.
God, Joe, you're ruining it.
I am.
Stop being weird.
Can't help it.
I don't think Joe knows how to stop being weird.
That's okay, because I don't think Tim Krieder listens to your podcast.
Well, he
Fine.
should.
Well, not only that, we're still trying to get Obama on.
We give him a free plug. Yeah, what's Obama been doing? He's got his deal with Iran done. He's got time.
It's all because I don't have a garage.
It is.
You know who does have a garage?
Who, Joe?
These guys, our sponsors. You may not be able to join the mighty Marvel Marching Society anymore, or even the Friends of Old Marvel, but you can visit our sponsors. Our oldest sponsor is DreamHost.com. DreamHost.com is the best, bar none, web host in the whole known universe. If you need a website, go to DreamHost.com. They will take care of you as they've been taking care of me for over 15 years. If you use the code CRAZY, that's KRAYZ, you get $20 off your first year of hosting. If you are listening to this podcast, you are very good looking. That's right. As a good-looking person, you can't trust your skin to any old razor. That's why you need to shave with the amazing razors you could get delivered from the Dollar Shave Club. Every month, they send a box with your shaving supplies. At the beginning of the week, or whenever you want, you pop in a fresh blade and get that fresh blade shave. It feels fantastic, and it's just one of the many, many ways that you can maintain the good looks that everyone has come to expect from you. And if you join us at the Dollar Shave Club, their plans start at just $3 a month. They have a money-back guarantee, and there is no excuse for you to ever use any other razor. So just go to dollarshaveclub.com/crazy, KRAYZ, to get started. One of the things you need to do this year, you need to get healthy. We all need to be healthy so we can all hang out a lot longer. And one of the ways to get healthy is not to go down to the vending machine and buy those chips or those candy bars or any of the other vending machine snacks. You want healthy snacks picked out by actual chefs who know what they're doing, and you can do that at graze.com. And if you use the code Cory S3R5P, your first and fifth box are free, so you can try it out. See if that's the kind of stuff you like. That's Cory S3R5P. Our final sponsor is Worldwide News. Worldwide News is the story of the lowest rated cable news network and the people who work there. It is updated twice a week by writer Cory Strode. Hey, that's me! And artist Dangerous Dan Moore. Worldwide News at worldwidenews.solitairerose.com, part of the Solitaire Rose family of websites. If you would like to contact us, there are a whole bunch of ways. You can email us at cory.strode@gmail.com. You can give us a call. We have a voice line that is open at all times at 952-856-0519, or you could go to Facebook and join the Crazy Comics and Stuff fan page. If you would like to advertise on Crazy Comics and Stories or on Solitaire Rose Radio, you can. Just send me an email at cory.strode@gmail.com, subject advertising. Thanks.
That didn't make any sense.
I thought he was going to talk about my garage. Well, here's
Guys
where
are
I talk
breaking
about
kayfabe.
But he was going to
Midwest
tell me
comic
to
book.
live in your garage.
Ooh, that's a thought. No, we're going to have you live at the Midwest Comic Book Association Fall Comic Con. The comic book party, the one-day wonder, 420 minutes of extreme comic book action. October 10th, 10 a.m. to 5 p.m. at the Minnesota State Fairgrounds over in Snelling Avenue, which is kind of funny because that's where the Spring Con used to be held. You see how big this whole con thing's growing here. So
Like a weed.
So
like
once
kudzu.
once you're up here, Jin, we know where you're going to be for at least 420 minutes.
Is it
After
too
that-
late for me to get in on that?
I don't know. We'll figure out a way.
We need to start a Get Jin to Minnesota fund.
Crowdfunding. Interesting.
There's a weird silence there, but I'm okay because I know the crickets are gone, right?
Yes, that's that was just a check, just in case Cory was hiding them in a Tupperware bowl, trying to save them from the wrath of Jin. But
If
nope,
I hear crickets
they're
in
gone.
post, I'm going to be pissed.
Yes,
We'll fix it in post.
I'll fix it in post. Don't worry about it.
God, this is the worst podcast I've ever done. I'm like
Well,
drawing. And
we don't need you sober. I mean,
you can hear Joe's. I know, but the one where I was drunk was better than this.
I made
drawing.
a
His
suggestion to
furnace is
Cory
loud.
where you drink and I drink, and Cory can stay straight, and we'll just see what happens from there. Because I'm a light date, just a couple light beers and I'm gone.
Somebody's got to drive the Titanic.
I'll have plenty of ice right here.
Well, I have a couple plugs.
Okay.
In your
We
hair?
are in these. I can afford that. We've got the summer of podcasting going on. We are 2 episodes from episode 200, and I am recording a solo podcast every week. So all the listeners are getting two podcasts a week, all the way till Labor Day. The week that just passed, I did a special episode on the career of Don McGregor, who recently won the Bill Finger Award out at the Eisners. And this week is another episode of Jack Kirby, where I go over Jack Kirby's career from 1979 to 1987. We've also got another episode where my friend Tommy and I go through the next 5 issues of Mad. I've got an episode where I go through the next 6 issues of Tales from the Crypt. I've got all sorts of stuff. And starting after the summer of podcasting, a 3rd podcast will be added to the Solitaire Rose Radio Network. We may have a 4th podcast by October. So stay tuned. Joe,
Yes.
what do you got to plug?
It's not me.
It's deja vu, the feeling that you've heard this poll before. No, I am still putzing away on eBay. Crazy comics and stuff. You can link through it through Cory's infamous website. And I'll talk more about it at Freaking and Geeking, but right now we're ending up a huge run of just variant comics that I'm just blowing up for 99 cents so I can get rid of them and get on to something else. I got tons of stuff here, and as you know, if you are a listener of this here podcast and you do actually wander over to Crazy Comics and Stuff eBay store and buy something, send me a quick note either through eBay or through my email, crazycomics@gmail.com, or through Facebook, however, and I will either include something from my vast accumulation of crap for free or ship it free, or maybe I'll send you that picture of Cory's dare back there where he was super drunk and we had to put him to bed shirtless.
Oh, no. Anything but that.
Okay, I won't
There's
do that.
a reason I am the best dressed man in comics. It's because
Yes,
I
nobody
never.
wants to see you naked.
That's
No
right.
Greco-Roman wrestling for you.
Jen, do you have anything to plug?
Listen to my podcast. We have Greasy Butts and Robot Penis.
Well, there's your sales pitch right there, ladies and gentlemen.
Did you listen to
How
my
can
show,
you say
Corey?
no?
I have not listened yet because
Oh
we will
my
get to that when we get to freaking.
What? It's been days.
That's called foreshadowing
What?
or foreplay. I don't know, one of the two.
It's Comic Bros, BROS, podcast.com. And yeah. We have higher production values.
You mean,
Ooh, snap! I like this.
Oh, snap.
you mean you
Gauntlet
don't have
thrown.
somebody down in the dungeon in a wind tunnel? I'm just glad he's not in Alaska anymore. That's all I need.
Alaska, that was great.
I'm sorry, I'm in a saucy mood tonight. It's really hot in here. I have all my lamps on and they're really warm.
Well, you know what that means.
What?
It's time for Freaking and Geeking. Joe, what are you freaking on this week?
Oh, I got a whole list of shit.
Oh, God.
First off, we got another urban myth in the making. You've heard about those Oregon bakers denying the gay couple the chance to partake of their particular brand of cake. And of course, they got sued and they had to pay $135,000. And everybody's like, oh, that's so bad because of the picking on the Christians. No. The reason the Oregon bakers in question lost the lawsuit is because not only did they not refuse service to the gay couple in question, but then they turned around and they kept blathering on about it to any media outlet that would call them, anybody who would give them a little attention. They published the gay couple's address online. They had their kids threatened. That's why they lost the lawsuit. This is just like the McDonald's lady in the cup of coffee. She didn't win the money because she's careless and spilled coffee on her. She won it because McDonald's was told, turn your coffee down. It doesn't get to the boiling point. You don't realize when she spilled it on her, she got third-degree burns. It melted the skin right off her legs. That's why McDonald's lost, not because... Anyways, so I'm going crazy with that. Speaking of eBay, I was telling you about my eBay store. In my enthusiasm to get as much as the stuff I want to sell online, I apparently used all the free insertions I get. I didn't realize...
Ooh, that sounds dirty.
Yeah,
It
you
did?
beat me to it.
You thought
That's what she
200 insertions would be enough. No.
You know what? For me, that's just a good weekend.
Yep.
Thank you.
Apparently
Good
not enough for
afternoon.
eBay. They told me I was out. Now, the problem was, like I said, I was blowing out a bunch of invoices
You said blowing out.
I was.
Blowing out and insertions. I'm going to have to put the explicit tag on this one.
We put the explicit tag on every
Excuse
episode
me,
of my podcast.
I've got a little on my lip. Anyways. Yo. Say we gotta wait an hour to do it.
Joe, at your age, you have to wait about 3 days.
I got a little pill that says otherwise. Slipshine.net. Woo.
So you didn't tell me this was going to be that kind of episode.
Aren't they all?
No, they're really not.
Anyways, once eBay told me I could no longer insert upon them,
Sounds like your wife.
I felt they were being a little hard on
Oh,
me.
snap.
I was rather disgusted with that. I still had plenty of insertions left to go.
Joe's going to run this shit into the ground.
Oh, you know it.
Yeah.
Just a small puddle lying there waiting to dry up and be crusty. No, I had all these comics. I was just going to blow it at 99 cents. But if they're charging me 30 cents in auction to do it, I can't do it anymore. So I just got to wait till next month and then we'll start doing it. So check it out. Grab what you can.
You used up all of July's insertions. And now you got to
cut me off. Son of a bitch, just like my wife. Anyways.
I'm going to tell her you said that.
Speaking of which, the girls did come home from Italy last week. And, of course, when they got here last Wednesday, they were tired, cranky, smelly, jet-lagged. I got a little worried because we got there at 6:30. The plane landed a little before that. So I figured, okay, maybe a half hour to get out of through customs. 7 came, 7:30 came. At about 6:45, I listened to a little snippet of somebody, I can't believe they're going to make those 3 people go back. Well, they shouldn't have come in. And I'm thinking, oh, sweet bejesus, what fresh hell did they fall into this time? At 8 o'clock, I get a little text. No, just one of their bags was missing. And they were told, wait here while we clean the plane, which is their words for, screw you, I'm getting the hell out of here. So they came out at 8:30. They went over to the baggage claim office. We got the bag on Sunday. Speaking of today's the last day of my vacation.
You had a vacation?
I did. 7 days off, and then with my new schedule, I had 3 days off tacked on top of that, so it was like 10 days away from work. And I'm just telling you, I don't want to go back because while I was gone, Representative Tom Rooney offered an amendment to help rein in the TSA. He voted to block us from wearing our little gold badges. Damn, I'm telling you, that'll teach us. No, wait, I'm telling you, that's one less piece of shit on my uniform I have to worry about. We didn't want the badges. We had to sign our life away to get the badges. Take them. Still won't correct what's wrong with TSA, but it'll look good in the press, not to mention all the tax dollars that will be spent to reissue uniforms to everyone. You're not reining in anything, you knob. That's all I'm freaking on. Cory, what are you freaking on?
Joe, you had a day off?
I had 3 of them. It was awesome.
A real actual day where you didn't have to go to a job?
Nope. And nobody was mad at me.
What's it like?
Oh, I'm telling you, it's like going to slipshine.net for an entire day and nobody's going to bother you.
Is that really it? I need to check. Yeah, it's slipshine.net, comics for people who think sex is fantastic.
Oh, well, I guess I can't go there.
Well, last week was pretty much a week that was completely shot.
Bango.
My son went down to visit his mother for July 4th and said he would be back on Monday. And he wanted to get some stuff done on his car, so could I please not do anything Monday night? Joe and I planned on recording, so I said, well, okay, as long as we get everything done by 8 o'clock, that's when we start to record. And I waited, and I waited, and I waited, and I waited. Then Joe and I started recording, and then at 9:30 I get a text from him, says, I'm not going to be able to make it tonight, which, thank goodness, because I think every place that sold car parts was closed. So Tuesday I don't hear from him. So Tuesday I come home. I'm going to get my stuff and go to the gym. As soon as I get home, there he is with his brother and a truck. And he says, I guess I'm moving out today.
It was so sudden.
Did you
I know.
cry?
No,
I'm surprised.
not on Tuesday. Well, I cried when the crickets were dead, but I didn't let anybody see. But we had to pack all his stuff, take apart all his homemade furniture, put it in the truck, doing all that, moving everything out. And he'd gotten a job at the same grocery store his brother works at. They're going to be blah, blah, blah. So for the first time since 1988, I have my house to myself.
And naturally, he killed the crickets.
No, I didn't kill the crickets. Mike did when he dropped his goddamn desk on him.
That's what Joe was saying.
Yeah, fed him to the cat. Bastard.
So Thursday, I figure I'll clean up the bedroom. Then I'll go to the gym. I have a new podcast on my MP3 player to listen to. It's going to be exciting, right? I go in and I start cleaning the room. And let's just say I had... I running the vacuum cleaner and cleaning his room, it kicked up so much crap and dust and everything. I had the worst asthma attack I've had in a good decade. I had to get in the car, drive to the urgent care to get a shot so that I could continue to breathe. My asthma was so bad I couldn't get enough oxygen to talk. I had to write on a piece of paper, having an asthma attack, having trouble breathing, need an inhaler, plus an emergency, whatever. So there was my Thursday. Friday, I actually got all of the stuff that he'd left behind, got it all packed up, put in the hallway, everything, and I was too tired to go to the gym after all that, so did not listen to a podcast. Saturday, I worked. Saturday, I worked. I went and picked up some stuff, ran a few errands, went and saw Ring of Honor. Most fun I've had in a long time. That'll be in geeking.
It was not more fun than Mad Max.
Yes, it was.
I don't like you anymore.
I'm used to that.
That's sad.
I don't think I ever liked you.
Most people don't like me after my mom quit sending them checks.
Now I feel bad.
So Sunday, I worked and came home and was so tired that I just kind of laid on the couch. So today I went to the gym and finished up listening to the podcast I was listening to and listened to the beginning of a Very Close Friends podcast, who's been badgering me, even though the podcast is only a week old.
I asked you once.
And I have podcasts on my MP3 player that are 3 years old. You don't see Comic Geek Speak emailing me saying, have you listened to episode 1000 yet? Then I come home Monday, my roof leaks.
That's because you didn't listen to the podcast.
I know.
You're cursed.
My roof leaks. And I have a comic-related freaking.
Oh.
You know how DC's been saying for a little over a year now that they're going to beef up the Vertigo line again, and they're really excited about it, and they're going to really do good by Vertigo?
Beefy.
What they did at the San Diego Comic-Con, in their panel, they announced the 12 new series from Vertigo. Didn't send out a press release, didn't put anything on their website, didn't release any information. If you want to find out about it, you can watch a really shitty video somebody took with their phone from the back of the hall. And maybe we'll get that information in a couple of weeks when they get around to it. Jen, what are you freaking on?
San Diego Comic-Con.
Never going back.
I wasn't there.
I don't think I'll ever be able to get there again.
So I want to go there at least once, and I wanted to go, and everyone's like, no, you can't go, Jen, and I don't have any money, so, but I have friends that had a table there, so next year I am totally fucking there, and nobody is fucking stopping me.
I would put in for your hotel room now.
You know what? I'll figure it out, but, yeah, that's why I'm not happy.
Geeking! Joe, what are you geeking on? What are you loving?
Bloom County's back! Berkeley, how do you say his name? Berkeley Breathed has brought back Bloom County. And we owe it all to Donald Trump. He said it got just ridiculous enough to bring it back. He put his first strip up on Facebook, and it was great. I'm telling you, as long as Trump's in, now we have a reason to keep Trump around. You know what I'm saying?
Now, here's my question, because it actually got coverage on news programs and everything. Is that strip going into the paper? Is he just putting it up on Facebook? How is he getting it out to the peoples?
My guess is Facebook and possibly his own website. But like I said, I first read it on Facebook, and I thought it was just a reprint until I realized it was real. And then, of course, all the press hit. So he posted it before the press hit. They just caught up to him afterwards. Very sweet. I mentioned before the girls did come back from Italy. Dana brought me this here comic book published by Panini Comics. Un Nuovo Imperibile Numero Uno. Star Wars #1.
Oh!
Very cool. And, of course, we all know Panini is owned by Marvel, so that's their print overseas.
Isn't that a kind of sandwich?
It is. That's why that's why they don't call them Panini Comics in America, because everybody would just get hungry.
Okay.
I mentioned before selling stuff on eBay. The only thing I want to touch on really is I was selling a bunch of Wizard Ace editions. They were limited edition releases of classic comic books that are really cool because they put them in a new format with a really nice acetate cover on it. So if you're looking for a good way to pick up Amazing Spider-Man #3 or Fantastic Four #48, well, it's too late. I've already sold mine on eBay, but check it out.
Tough luck, suckers.
Tough luck. You waited. I almost walked into Fairy Town the other day. No, I'm not turning. Although with my luck with women, I might as well. They renamed Como Town Fairy Town because they're filming the movie, the graphic novel Wilson, the Daniel Clowes graphic novel. Woody Harrelson and Laura Dern are in town. They've been filming at the farmers market downtown St. Paul. They were out at Como Park, and I had to do a double take because as I was dropping Holly off there, because she works as one of the volunteers there, the place was packed, and I'm like, it doesn't normally open till like 10, 11 o'clock. Como Town is where like the kiddie rides are and things like that, and they'd removed it, and it was called Fairy Town. I thought, they're renaming it. I wonder why. And when I picked up Holly, she said, well, they're filming there today. So I thought, that's cool. I should go get a couple pictures just for fun. Well, today they turned it back into Como Town. So they came, they filmed, they left. Today they were out at the Mall of America. So it'll be interesting to see when that one finally gets to the movie theaters. And not only as comic related, but it'll be fun just to see some of the local sights and scene. As far as what I've been reading, I actually read me a whole smattering of comic books.
Really?
Oh, yeah.
Wait, we're supposed to read comic books?
We are.
No.
Such as Marvel, Star Wars, Princess Leia, tied in with the old Star Wars franchise. I picked up the last issue of Archie, number 666, dun dun dun. I'm not sure how the new Archie's going to roll out or how it's going to be. I don't understand why they can't keep the old format going, but they want to make Archie hip and cool, and as long as Mark Waid's writing it, I suppose I'll give it a try. I picked up The Unbeatable Squirrel Girl and laughed horrendously out loud.
Scaring the neighbors.
Number 7. Speaking of weird, Archie versus Predator. And this one obviously is not tied into the Archie universe because several of the Archies die. I don't think I'm giving away too much. It would have been more interesting had they kind of kept it in continuity, kind of like the Archie Punisher, but they chose to go outside of continuity and kind of go after a more mature audience. Speaking of Gru, I got to Gru in Friends and Foes number 6 from Dark Horse. I read Doctor Who number 2, based on the 9th Doctor, I pick up the photo covers because I love me photo covers. At Cory's insistence, I read All Stars Section 8, number 1. And much as Cory's in love with Bat Cow, I am in love with Big Toro and the Fair. And of course, I had to read Johnny Viable and His Terse Friends by Steve Aylett. It's one of the most, how should you say? Whom among us can occupy our valuable time considering the activities and interests of Johnny Viable? Well, your debt is not yet paid. We are visible, available. We have far to go. Come with me. Let us journey through life, a hornet through the garden of accidents, from salad days to the moment when death, without anger or consent, strolls through us and brings to us the party, that knot of banshee ham you call a brain. Do it now. Do it now. And that's just page 1. I also started back issue number 81, which talks all about the 100-page super specials that DC graced us with, largely responsible for making me aware that there were comics long before I picked these suckers up in the 70s and into the 80s. A lot of Golden Age reprints were included with these. There are also a list of giant-sized Marvels, but there's a lot of reading in this sucker. I haven't quite gotten through it all, but back issues and the other one, Alter Ego, this month with Jim Mooney interview, they're 2 of the magazines that I pick up and I just read at leisure because they're not going to, what's in it's not going to change. There's not time thing consuming, like I have to keep up with Secret Wars before some dumbass spoils it online. But that would be a freaking. Cory, what are you geeking on? What's got you happy today?
Well, I have been reading some first
Enough
issues.
of that. Jin, what's got you happy? Oh, I'm sorry. I shouldn't overtalk Cory. Sorry, Cory. What's got you happy?
See, I don't get any respect at all. First comic I read that I would like to recommend is Archie #1 by Mark Waid and Fiona Staples. Fiona Staples is best known for drawing Saga, one of the best comics out on the market.
Hey, I just got that book. My friend Mark loaned me those to read. I haven't read them yet.
You will love them.
I will?
Yes,
Okay.
And the art is beautiful.
I will read them this week.
Fiona Staples and Mark Waid start Archie off, and the thing about it is they're just building the sort of the Archie friendship universe, everything that's going on. The issue opens, Archie and Betty have broken up. Nobody knows why, but people are upset about it. So it introduces the characters, it introduces the situations. I loved it. I absolutely loved it. I didn't expect to like it at all. I like Mark Waid's writing, and I like Fiona Staples' art, but I really didn't want to read an updated new version of Archie. But it really worked. I think it's really going to do well with younger readers who a lot of the Archie comics don't really speak to them anymore. This has more of a level of, the best way to put it is like a CW or ABC Family.
It's hip.
No, it's not hip. It's aimed at young adult readers. So it reads like a young adult book.
Like Harry Potter?
Yeah, without the magic.
Well, I don't want to read that.
Well, Sabrina's
Well, of
probably
course
in it. She's got magic.
Nope, Sabrina is not in it.
We don't know that yet.
Yes, we do, because Sabrina has a horror comic that is not going to cross over. Wade has already talked about he's going to focus on the main Archie characters, and he's going to kind of make them seem a little more relatable and a little more real.
Because everything's Archie.
And if you like the old Archie style, they are still putting out the digest. The digest will have new stories in the older style. The reason they quit doing them as comics is they can't get them on newsstands anymore, and they don't sell in comic shops. So they had to do something to try and sell comics in the shops. The next comic I read is We Stand on Guard by Brian K. Vaughan, writer of Saga, and Steve Skroce, who's done a lot of animation work and a lot of manga work and a lot of video game stuff. It is the story of, it's set in the future. America has invaded and occupies Canada, and Canadian freedom fighters are fighting back. It was a good first issue. It didn't hook me like Saga did or like some of Vaughn's other stuff like Runaways, but there was enough there that I'm looking forward to the next issue. I then picked up The Spirit #1, which is written by one of my favorite writers in comics, Matt Wagner, and it was wonderful. You don't need to have ever read any Spirit comic before. It doesn't lean on copying Eisner's art, and the artist they have does a very good version of Wagner's style of art. So go out, pick up Spirit #1. Usually with Dynamite, I don't like when they get these characters because then they go, hey, if one's great, 20's better. But with this one, Matt Wagner's done a really, really good job. Let's see, what else do I have here on the list? I went Saturday night and saw Ring of Honor in Hopkins, Minnesota. They were filming. Usually when they do these shows, they set up, they run a 3-hour show, they turn about 2 hours of it into TV. It was the best wrestling show I've seen in a long time. You had some excellent matches, you had a lot of fun stuff, you had comedy, and the main event with AJ Styles, first time I'd seen AJ Styles live. The guy is kind of, well, I know his nickname is Phenomenal. He does aerial stuff that, while it looks cool on TV, live, it just looks incredibly impressive. For $20, Ring of Honor puts on the best wrestling show you can watch. They're really, 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 really kicking it into third gear. And there wasn't a bad match on the show. And then the last thing I'm geeking on, Dahm McGregor, one of my favorite artists and a guy who I've corresponded with and met a few times. He's always been the nicest guy. He's a very impressive writer. He won the Bill Finger Award. And the Bill Finger Award is to recognize writers for a body of work that has not received its rightful reward and or recognition. That is what Jerry Robinson intended as his way of remembering his friend Bill Finger. Dahm McGregor did Black Panther, he did Killraven, he did Saber, he did Zorro. He pushed the boundaries of comics further. He did the first interracial kiss in mainstream comics. He had the first lesbian relationship in a mainstream comic. Neil Gaiman has said that Dahm McGregor's the guy who taught him, by his writing, that you can turn poetry into a story. And it's so great to see that Don got the recognition while he was still alive. There were people who worked in the media, people who work in movies and television who showed up just to tell Don how much his work has meant to them. And it couldn't happen to a nicer guy. Jen, what are you geeking on?
Well, I was just geeking on my podcast, but I've already mentioned it like twice, so I don't want to bring it up again. I wasn't really excited about anything else because, to be honest, all I've been doing is working. So it's been pretty much go to sleep, wake up, draw, make comics, and work all day. So I haven't had a very exciting life lately.
But you're liking what you're drawing.
I am. I've been working on a lot of my Sharpie pieces, and those are all in my Etsy shop for sale. And yeah, I don't know. I don't have anything else to say.
Well, one of the things you posted recently, I always agree with and want to put out there. You said make something every day, even if it sucks.
I didn't say that actually.
Yeah, but you quoted it or put it up or something.
One of my friends posted it on the comics podcast page. But yes, it said make something every day, even if it sucks. My friends Mark and Root, I'm kind of always on them to at least draw something every day, which I don't have a problem with because that's literally all I do. But they do because they both have actual like jobs and lives and stuff. They're not just chained to the desk the way I am.
Wait. You only have one chain on you at your desk? What happened to the ropes? What about the ankle bracelet? What about the laser grid that attacks if you move more than a foot away?
I'm already melting under my work lights. Isn't that enough?
Help me, I'm melting.
Well, kids.
Wait, I
believe
need
it
to
or
know
not,
one thing.
What?
You haven't been in Portland lately, have you?
Portland?
Yeah.
Why would I have been in Portland?
Well, somebody, and I'm not casting aspersions, has been hanging unidentified dong danglers all over the power lines. They've been pumping hundreds of phallic sex toys and tying them together and putting them on the power lines.
Why would you think I did that?
I'm not accusing anybody of putting their synthetic dicks anywhere. I just had to know because the power companies would prefer if whomever's doing it didn't use their power lines as ad hoc nub chub hangers.
You need a pop
The
filter on your
temptation is there for tittering, but we want to keep the power line safe as possible.
Maybe I should be moving to Portland.
Well, I happen to know you wouldn't be lonely.
Wow.
Well, kids, believe it or not.
What was that? Yeah, I do remember the taste of soap. Why are you asking? Never mind. I'll talk to her later.
You've listened to us blather on about funny books for an hour and a half now.
Sorry.
And as we say every week, kids, the comic we like the least, we still like better than the comic that you like the most. Joe?
Two Eskimos sitting in a kayak were chilly, so they lit a fire in the air in their craft. Unsurprisingly, it sank, proving once again you can't have your kayak and heat it too. Oh, I feel like dancing. Someone call my mama. Hit my music.
Jen?
What?
Oh, you don't have a close this time?
I don't know. I thought what was pretty good.
Good night.